Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to enlighten, educate, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host or the station. Folks, I love doing what I do. You all know that. And with me today, I have two exceptional guests with me today, phenomenal people that I want to introduce you to. And I am so honored and grateful to meet people through the airwaves, to bring to you the audience, because people's stories need to be heard. Everybody has a right to be heard about their story, about living life joyfully and being victorious. And with me today are two people. They are mother and son. I have with me Sandy Hartranft, who is an RN. She is a certified diabetes care and education specialist. She is author and writer of the book Swinging from the Chandelier, Finding Joy in the Journey Through Autism. It's a memoir taken from many journals through the years. I can't wait to hear about that. And also with me is her son, Ben. Ben, if I pronounce your name right again, Hartranft. He is on the 25-year-old Ben. He is an autism advocate. He has autism. He is amazing. He works part-time for the Philadelphia Eagles game day staff. He drives. He was on Ellen DeGeneres, The Price is Right. He also has done the extraordinary opportunity to carry the Lombardi Trophy to start the ring ceremony for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for those who are out of the U.S. And they have is it a nonprofit, Sandy? And you can pronounce the name.
Yep, BENERGY1 Presentations is our company.
Okay. And I really want to encourage the audience to go on their website and see the clip of Ben on The Price is Right, because I watched it and I had tears of joy because Ben loves life. He's enjoying life, and isn't that what we should all be doing? And Ben is an inspiration, because I'll tell you what, I'm a Jersey girl, okay, so I just tell it like it is. I get so tired of hearing people say, I can't do this, I can't do that, and they make excuses. So I want you to listen to Ben and Sandy, and I want you to go on the website and you watch Ben, and then tell me that you can't do something. Because when we feel sorry for ourselves, we're not going to go anywhere. Okay? I know that myself. You have to do your own work. And everybody can contribute to society as far as I'm concerned. And I want to welcome you, Sandy and Ben, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thanks so much. We're really excited to be here.
It feels like a TV show.
I thought that was awesome. I have to ask you, Ben, how did you get on the Ellen DeGeneres show?
It actually took 3 years. One day I woke up, it was my senior year of high school, and I said, I really want to get on Ellen. And my mom was like, first of all, it's probably never going to happen. And we're just local residents from a local town. And people wrote in, and they called 3 years later, and they wanted to do a Skype interview, and they invited me out, and they totally surprised me.
Wow. That's incredible. Now, is that on your website? Because I didn't see it, because I really wanted to watch it.
Yeah, so on the website, there's a tab at the top that says videos, and then all the videos of him on The Price is Right, the Ellen show, carrying the trophy. There's a documentary that the Eagles did about him. All those videos are on the website, and that's BENERGY1.com. and all the videos are out there. And so when he told us, we were just like, why would that ever happen? We didn't really have any clue why Ellen would want to interview Ben. And a lot of things all came together. A lot of people at school wrote in. He had family support. He had friend support. And the Eagles were really doing that wonderful year where we won our Super Bowl, and it kind of all culminated to what Ben also does to raise funds for autism awareness through the Eagles Autism Challenge. And so that was all part of why she invited him out. And it is pure joy to hear how he screamed his head off when she invited him out on stage, because she totally surprised him.
It was.
That's awesome. You must be so proud, Sandy.
Yeah, we really, when he was 2 and he couldn't speak, we were like, well, it kind of was a different journey than we expected for our child, and we didn't really know how life was going to play out. And Ben has just exceeded all expectations. He lives life to the fullest. He's just joyful, and, he's really stretched us in positive ways as well.
That is, it's just inspiring. You are truly a role model, Ben, for people who have autism, for people to look at you and accept people who have autism. Because a lot of times, people judge others, and you get, the stares, and it's, why is someone acting that way? And, of course, they judge the poor parents.
Right.
How come they're not disciplining that kid? And why can't they, pay attention? And I know when my son was young and we went to the park, I would actually have to climb up on the slide because if the airplane, flew overhead, he got distracted. Josh would look up. I was afraid he was going to fall backwards. I'd go down on the slide with him. There's just a lot of things that people just don't understand. And I have to ask you this, Sandy, and I'll ask Ben, then you could chime in. Was Ben sensitive to noise? Because I know Josh was.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So kids on the autism spectrum are either hypersensitive, like your son, and they don't like the noise, or they're hyposensitive, and that's Ben. So the louder, the brighter, the spinnier, the better. Ben's neurosystem is actually a little underdeveloped, and it takes a lot more input for him to even feel the same sensation. And so where that plays out for Ben, Ben's a roller coaster fanatic, and he can go on a roller coaster 11 times without getting off, and it's dizzy at.
Like the dizzy rides make me dizzy, so that's fine.
Wow.
Yeah, so and bright noise and bright lights.
And fever.
Yeah, my son, Josh, was like a garbage truck would make him cry, the vacuum cleaner.
Oh,
I had to literally have Josh out of the house to vacuum.
Wow.
Because he would cry. Yeah.
So I have 3 sons. Ben is my youngest. My middle son, he doesn't have autism, but he's very sensitive to like tags and sock seams and things like that. And he would spend, 10 or 15 minutes making sure his socks are just right so they didn't rub them the wrong way. And Ben literally wore his shoes on the wrong feet some days. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ben, how can you even do that? But that's how little Ben feels it. And yet for Dan, it was the other way around. So there's a lot like that with your other son.
Yes, tags. Josh did not like tags. Actually, I don't either. So anything, bothering my skin. And I have to ask you, Sandy, about your book. I know what motivated you, but can you tell the audience what motivated you to write your book and what you hope the reader takes away?
Thank you. When he was 3, I literally found him on my dining room table, and he was stimming on the lights. He was shining the lights in his eyes, and he was rocking back and forth on my chandelier. And I said, oh, my gosh, if I ever write a book, I'm going to call it Swinging from the Chandelier. I've had that title in my brain for 22 years. And my sister-in-law, when he was diagnosed, gave me a journal, and she said, look, you should just write down things that are happening. And I'm so glad she did that because so many things I forgot There were really hard things that we lived through that I didn't think I was going to live through. There's a lot of funny stories that I forgot. And so about 5 years ago, I started writing the book, really just hoping to pass on some encouragement, to pass on some wisdom, and maybe to even pass on a few laughs and tears, just letting other people know what our journey was like and encouraging them on theirs. And so we wrote the book, and it's really been well received, even from parents with, neurotypical kids. There's just a lot of parenting advice in there as well, but we're really hoping just to encourage and inspire hope in others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead, Ben.
It's a great read, for example, graduation gift. It's a great read in the Bahamas on a cruise in a summer day. Buy today, BENERGY1.com.
Ben's my PR guy.
Well, I'll tell you what. I wish there was women like you and people like you, Ben, 30, see, Josh will be 39, so I'm going to say 38 years ago, 37 years ago, talking and opening up about autism and what the challenges are. Did you have difficulties and challenges navigating through the school system?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, even too, when Ben was first diagnosed, I graduated from nursing in the 80s, and they were still preaching that horrible theory about the refrigerator mother. So I'm sure there was a lot.
Yes.
False, but thank you very much. This is my fault. It is not. So if anybody's listening to this, new diagnosis, please know there is no fault. Anything you've done, nothing you've done caused this to happen. It really is just a neurological thing that happens at birth. So let go of all of those feelings. But as Ben progressed through his school years, he really came up. He really has a learning disability on top of the autism. And he really wasn't learning to read and write, and we were getting really frustrated. And at one point, the school basically said, well, some kids just don't. And, in my mind, if I knew that was true and Ben truly couldn't do it, I would accept him and love him, obviously, for who he is. But what if I give up too soon? That was a horrible thought.
Sure.
If he really can do it, but I don't press. And so we really just prayed hard, and God always brought the right person into our life at just the right time. And a woman introduced us to a specific reading method that completely unlocked it for Ben. And now he's literate, which is just life-changing.
That is so awesome. Go ahead, Ben.
And we had to, take the school, and I'm sorry, I don't want to say that.
Yeah, you can say it.
We had to take the school to court because they were not listening to us about the
program.
Yeah,
that was probably the hardest struggle that we went through because, again, I didn't want to frustrate, but I didn't want to leave anything on the table that could have changed Ben's life. And there was obviously due processes available, and we had we did have to use the system. And thankfully, after he learned to read and write, we were able to come back to our district because we wanted him to be in that community. And so it really was just several years that he had to go out of district for a period of time, and then he was able to graduate with his own, peers.
I had to threaten my school system with due process because Josh wasn't properly diagnosed until he was 13. I was given different diagnoses. He's hyperactive, he's mentally retarded. It wasn't until he was 13 that I was given that he's on the autistic spectrum. He's pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. And he also has a, processing problem, difficulty.
Right.
And knowledge is power, folks. I'll tell you that right now. I joined a support group, and I found out about schools because we as parents think the child's study team knows better because they're professionals. They don't. We know what's best. And Josh was graduating from 8th grade, and he was not going to go to a local high school. I knew that. Then I told them, I said, you know what, I found a school, a special ed school, and I said, I want Josh to go here. I said, over my dead body is he going to the local high school. No way is he going there. And I said, if you could show me a place in our township that has everything he needs, I'll be glad to send him there. but you don't have it. You know you don't have it. And I said, you wasted 13 years. Well, maybe it was 10 at that time, of not doing right by Josh. Because what happens is, I don't know where you are, but when after fourth grade, they start to speech therapy, OT therapy, and he still needed that. Mm-hmm. And then, he would have to go to another school for that, and they didn't, think it was, beneficial. So I had it. And I threatened to sue them. And they thankfully sent Josh. So Josh went out of district, and he went to a special school that was more for his needs than what was offered in our township.
And I think you brought up a really
Excuse me.
Go
ahead.
Try to find
Sorry.
parents that ahead of the journey than you, because we really found that, people, they've already got a whole lot of knowledge, and why should we all try to recreate the wheel? So we played special basketball, and as Ben was out on the court, I would just sit and pick the mom's brains, like, how did you do this, and what does that look like, and how do I do this? And they were so helpful. So that's another part of what we're really hoping that the book is, that we can be that person for somebody else who's just starting on their journey and coming behind us as well.
Yes, and you know what, Sandy, you bring up a very good point. This is why people need to share their stories and their experience. I say that with Alzheimer's and the Alzheimer's world. I'll say it with, children, if you have children with special needs. Speak about your experiences, because it helps other people. And because I'm a Jersey girl, I just say it like it is. When we withhold information that we know that can help other people, that's being selfish. Right. Let's not be selfish. Let's share information and support each other, because if I wish I knew about support groups when Josh was younger, but they probably didn't even exist at that time. Did Ben go for early intervention? Josh did.
Yeah, so when Ben was 2.5, he really didn't have enough words, and where we started on our journey. And one day at work, a speech therapist was standing next to me, and I asked her if they did children's speech therapy at the hospital, and she said, yeah, but why do you ask? And when I told her, she said, oh, you have to talk to the intermediate unit. So in Pennsylvania, that's the early intervention program. And so they came out to our house and evaluated Ben, and I was so focused on the lack of speech, I missed a lot of other signs. He was really delayed in his fine motor and his gross motor, and he started going to school. So we're really thankful for those early intervention programs.
Yes, yes. I was told, and I'm glad you brought up, Sandy, of telling people that it's not their fault, because I was told by Joshua's pediatrician at that time, and I had changed pediatricians, that Josh was lazy. I knew that something was amiss, and I could tell by looking at Joshua's eyes that something was not right. And I was told, Josh is lazy. I'm an overprotective mother. My parents even said, you're looking for trouble. Why are you taking Josh to a neurologist? My younger brother, I won't say what I think of him on the show, but he actually called me and said, what did you do wrong? Aww. Who does that? Who says that to people?
Yeah,
Thank you.
So they're not hear that kind of stuff. That's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that was experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then, I wonder, did I do something wrong when I was pregnant? Did I not, stimulate Josh enough when he was a baby? It just so happens that my older brother, he had, and, they didn't diagnose in the late 50s, early 60s. I know that Bradley had a disability of some sorts. And, maybe it's genetic. I don't know. But, you wonder, did a doctor make a mistake? My water broke the day before. Maybe they should have done a cesarean sooner. All these things go through your mind, right?
Right.
And and then I don't know if you felt this way, Sandy, but I was like so centered. I made this mistake, folks, of teaching Josh and constantly doing something with him in the hopes that he would get better. And I had to realize, you know what? I got to enjoy Josh, accept him as he is, and yes, work with him, but make it playful. But I was so worried about making him better, fixing him, right? Did you go through that emotion?
Yeah, I think it's really important, the message that you said that, I went through a lot of those same feelings, like what did I do? Did I eat too many of this food? Was it something, during my pregnancy? And then you really have to let that go because that just saps your energy. Like it's just not useful.
Yes.
And what we did to try and turn that around is we started participating in research projects in our local children's hospital. Just figuring, okay, I don't know why this happened, but maybe we can provide information for those, again, coming behind us that might make their life different. But the other part along that, do you have other siblings for your son, or is he an only child?
He's the only child.
Okay. So Ben has two brothers, and, there was a whole other dynamic there because sometimes they felt like Ben was getting more love, but really I was trying to keep him alive. Right? So
right.
For all the therapies and all the places that you're dragging them to. And it was really hard to balance out and make sure that his two brothers felt the same love, as a family too. We did our best, but I'm sure that there are some feelings there where, they felt like they were shortchanged.
That is, that's true. Ben, I have to ask you, how did you get a job with the Philadelphia Eagles? That is so cool.
I actually applied online, and I got the job, and they have one day I was walking into work, and I was working at a preseason game, my first one, and they said, what do you do? Oh, I'm a fan ambassador. So I went to talk to them. I said, I really want to do this. And they said, oh, you have to be here for a year. So that God really opened that door for me, which is pretty cool. And every day last year, I pushed and pushed. I said, you got to make this happen. I'm a go-getter. So I really keep asking and pushing. Like, I pushed through doors, not walls.
Yeah. So when Ben was actually about 14, he always saw his brothers had a job, and so he just didn't have any other expectation except that he would work too. So he started applying everywhere. Of course, not many people hire 14-year-olds, but when he turned 16, the Olive Garden reached out. So that was his very first job, and it was a really great first job because he did the salad, and there's a very predictable salad at Olive Garden, right? You don't get to pick your dressing. There's 2 pepperoncinis, 4 tomatoes, whatever. And so it was very routine and predictable, and he did really well with that, and he started to learn, like, in the work environment. So he knew he could work, and he really liked, earning his own money. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they actually have a really big emphasis on autism because the owner, Jeff Lurie, his brother, has autism. So they have that whole Eagles Autism Foundation. They do the 5K every year to raise money. Ben personally has raised over $100,000 for that organization through the past 6 years, which has been amazing. But they also have a person that works with some of the people that they've hired that are on the spectrum as a support. So tell them some of the things that they do.
So I love Ryan Hammond and Kiki. They do such a great job. Kiki is one of the people at Eagles Autism. Is like she trains people like what to do and not to do in situations. They send out the schedule ahead of time. They are so amazing with the work environment, helping people with special needs. I think the Eagles are just a great organization.
So they give them a really good written schedule. They know exactly where they're supposed to be, what time their breaks are. And then there's somebody there if they need help that they know they can go to. So it really has been a really good job for them.
Yeah, and I'm just blown away.
That's awesome. I think it was last year I had read something about the Philadelphia Eagles. I guess it was the race and with autism, and I don't remember. I might have tried to reach out to them to interview someone, but they didn't reply back. Because I would love to interview someone from there to promote them also. Not that the Philadelphia Eagles need any promoting, but of what they do, to support their community and people who have autism. Joshua's first job was great. Things remembered. He had gotten it through a school, and they were wonderful. He met, wonderful people there. But then when he graduated, he went to a woman's store. I won't mention the name, a women's clothing store. And at first they, worked with his availability. And then after 2 weeks, and Josh had a job coach, they gave him a hard time. And they were making him nervous. They wouldn't let him have his job coach. They wouldn't work with his availability. And the manager was a real witch. And I said something to her, and she goes, well, you have no business coming in and saying something. So I told Josh to quit. I called up their 800 number, and I told them, that's great, you hire people with disabilities, but you need to work with them and their availability. And I explained what had happened. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but then they cleaned house in that store and got rid of that manager and other people. And they say, you know what, Josh, the local bus company is hiring, Dapper Bus Company, I'll say the name. I don't think they would mind. And that's in walking distance because Josh doesn't drive. And he went down, applied for a bus aide, and he got the job. He's been working there, I think, 16 or 17 years now. They love him. Yeah, they hire a lot of people with different disabilities, and they just love him. They worked with him. When his dad was dying, giving him, like, he would work in the morning, it was off in the afternoon, so I could go to work. They're very good to him. They're very good to their people. They really are. I have to say that. He was very grateful that they are so nice and cooperative with the situation. And, people need to give people an opportunity to work and to contribute to society. Excuse me. And I always said, therefore, by the grace of God, go I. And I tell people, all it takes, God forbid, is one fall, a car accident, a bike accident, and your child could be in a special needs situation. And how would you want your child treated? And I've always treated people how I want to be treated. And I worked as an LPN, Sandy, and I worked for 14 years, almost 14 years, in a state institution for the severely disabled, which I just loved. The clients and the aides would say, Betsy, who are you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to the clients. Well, don't you know they can't talk? I said, yeah, I know that, but they could hear, and they're human beings. Right. And they had their own personality. Like, it just gets me so mad, Sandy and Ben, when people don't treat others with respect and dignity. And we need to do that. And I'm very, passionate about that. People shouldn't judge. Or what do they do wrong that their child is like that? Or, how can they not disciplining their kid? Well, if you don't know someone's situation, keep your mouth shut or offer help. Say, how can I help you? I see you're struggling.
Right. Very words. Yep.
Yeah, I had a few situations like that before. I don't want to say it out loud. Like, there was a time when I was working at Olive Garden and someone stole a crouton, and I reported the person, So that's...
So Ben's first job, the very first day on the job, they said, please don't eat unless you've paid for the food here. And even stealing a little crouton, it's stealing from the company. And they kept the prices really low for their workers. And then, unfortunately, somebody popped a crouton in their mouth walking by Ben, and they told him the rules. So Ben reported that person. And we had a conversation, but he was following the rules. So I think, these kids that, on the spectrum, they're faithful workers. They show up for work. They want to work on time. it just helps to be able to show them what they really need to do. And the other part of that was they would tell Ben, clean up your area, but nobody showed them what that meant. So they have to be really specific and really explicit about what they want and what they expect so they can achieve those goals.
I just wanted to piggyback on what you said. I wish there was more kind managers and more, like Giant, for example. Giant was a great example because they were so kind to me working there. I just wish we had more people understanding more training with autism. And there's not a lot of training with supervisors and managers how to understand how to hire people with special needs. And that's what's missing, the piece.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree. I know that my local ShopRite, we have ShopRite in New Jersey, they hire people with disabilities. I have seen in Walmart, not sure about Target, and everybody can do something to contribute to society. And, when people who can work that have disabilities, they contribute to society, and it's great for everyone's self-esteem. It's great for the economy. Everyone benefits. And people, you're right, Ben, there should be training. There's what you call sensitivity training, diversity training. I think they should have training about different disabilities. And when someone does have a job coach, to let them help that person on that job to get on their feet. And, right? Go ahead, Ben.
Agree. I don't mean to interrupt your words. The Eagles do such a great job with that. Like, if I see any situations like that, I would go up and say, hey, this is it. We need to tweak this a little bit. But I wouldn't say that. I would say that, and then they would handle it. Right, Mom?
Right. Good support. That's what they need.
Yeah. And
yes. Yes, absolutely. Like, they know that Josh can't drive. So if there's a training down in another town, they get someone to take Josh to go. What was that, Ben?
Does Josh want to learn how to drive? Because I have my driver's license. I think he could.
He tried. I took him to get evaluated, and Josh has a attention span difficulty, and he told me that he wouldn't be able to pay attention. He can't look at the road and work his foot at the same time.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, exactly. When someone knows their limitations, that's a good thing. Like, he knows. He would tell me, I can't drive. I get too distracted. And that's fine. The person who evaluated Josh said it would take a lot of work on Josh's part, but he couldn't even pass the written test because he couldn't comprehend Yeah, that's a lot to comprehend. But yet, Josh can memorize the calendar, and he can memorize statistics. My son loves sports, Ben, and he would read, like, the statistics. I forgot the name of the book. Sports Illustrated, I think it was. They would have the statistics. He knows scores from games. He knows what's said in the movie. I can't remember what I saw last week. And I'll tell you what, Josh, of course I love him because he's my son. He's a wonderful, compassionate man. And he was great with his dad. He took care of his dad, and he was great with him. And I'll tell you what, Josh may have difficulty, processing, but he understood Alzheimer's better than so-called intelligent people.
Wow. It was like that when my grandfather died. I remember I was really, my dad he was scared to tell him, but he's like, oh, don't worry, we'll be there with him. And we had the best relationship. I'm just trying to think of a good story about my grandfather. I can't remember. But you were telling about, it was hard for me to root them because I don't know how.
Yeah, understanding death was a very hard concept. How did you share
yes.
that with your son?
Josh, by the time Matt died, which was 3 years ago, Josh knew about death. But I have a funny story because I have a sick, twisted sense of humor. It helped me get through caregiving. Someone in our church died. A relative of someone in church died. And Josh said to me, "Is that the one that's dead, sitting by so-and-so?" And I went, "Josh, do you actually think if they were dead, they would be sitting up in church?" And he said, "Well, who is that?" I said, "Well, that's his sister-in-law, not his wife." So I couldn't help but laugh. So I think, and Josh was younger then, so I think he had a difficult time concept of death. You know, they would not be sitting up in church, but by the time his dad died, he knew that Daddy won't be coming back. Yeah.
We tell Ben, that Pop was really, really sick, and the doctors tried, but that he was, safe in heaven and with Jesus. And he said to me, "I'm going up to heaven and fight Jesus and get Pop back." I have him. I want him back.
And to this day, my grandma passed a year ago.
Yeah.
And they're together now, so I'm so thankful. She's in a better place now, but I love my grandmother and my grandfather. Yep. She was the sweetest lady.
Now they're back together.
Yeah, I was always honest, with Josh regarding his father. And at first, Josh, it wasn't Joshua's routine to take care of Dad, but then when it became part of Joshua's routine, he was so proud of being a caregiver. Wow. He was very proud. And when Matt died, his dad died, it was very difficult because then COVID happened. Matt died January 1st, 2020, and then in March everything closed up.
Right.
And it was, very difficult for Josh, a difficult time for the both of us. But, Josh's job was, couldn't work, couldn't socialize. And it was tough, but we got through it. And Josh is still proud of being a caregiver. As a matter of fact, he won an award from Dementia Spotlight Foundation for being a young caregiver. He received an award.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very get choked up thinking about it. I get verklempt. But, if Josh is great. When, they say out of the mouth of babes, somebody in church said to Josh one time, "I'd call your dad, but he doesn't know who I am." And Josh said, "Well, Bill, it's not rocket science. You call up, you say, 'Hi, Matt, this is Brother Bill from blank church. How you doing?'" And I had to laugh. I had to laugh. Because it was so funny. But do you have, I love having you on, Sandy and Ben. Is there any, I want to ask you, Sandy, how can people buy your book and get in touch, contact you or Ben, or the both of you?
So everything is on our website, which is BENERGY1.com. So that's B as in boy, ENERGY, BENERGY1.com. And there's a tab on there about the books, so you can purchase books. They're only available on our website. They are also available in an audio form, so you can look at places where you buy audiobooks. It's available there.
It's also in Penrose Village.
Ben's taken them to a couple bookstores. And then so there's a way to communicate with us. So we'll answer anybody. You can email us. If you're interested in bringing Ben in to speak for your school or organization, there's a contact form on that. There's a video tab, like I said, where the Ellen video is there, the Price is Right video is there, and there's another tab that has resources because we're trying to get into be just, that hope and help for other people. So it just talks about all the different resources that we have found useful. Some are specific to Pennsylvania, but others aren't. And they're all on that website, so BENERGY1.com, and we would love to hear from you.
That is great. And I almost forgot to ask you, what does your organization do?
Yeah, so when Ben was on the Ellen show, afterwards, people started calling up and saying, hey, would you come do an assembly at our school and tell your story? And we were like, wow, that's really, a wonderful invitation. So Ben started really, thriving on that, really enjoying it and loving doing it. And he came to us and he said, really, I would like to do this full time. I'd like this to be my job. And that was, kind of after he turned 21 and fell off that adult cliff, and we weren't sure what to do with him. So we decided to start a company. So BENERGY1 Presentations goes into schools and businesses, corporations. Ben's had some amazing opportunities. He's done over, 150 schools. He's been to some colleges, been to some wonderful, big corporations where he's spoken and told his message. And it really resonates with everybody because it's about inclusion, it's about kindness, it's about you can be that one person. Our motto is be the one. So be the one person that can change somebody else's life.
Yes. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say a really cool story. I really wanted to get into the University of Delaware, and I worked up autism groups. I was like, you know what, I'm going to call. So I reached out lots of times. I called 8 times. And I called one day, and he said, hi, this is Wes. I said, Wes, this is Ben Hartranft. When am I coming to UD? And we were chatting to make this happen. And we finally did, all because I was persistent.
Yeah, so he doesn't take no for an answer, and he really just he's our front guy. He just really makes some cold calls, but has met some incredible people. And then that kind of just spider webs out because somebody came to that presentation in the Department of Delaware, the University of Delaware, and their mom is at a special needs school in Massachusetts. So in September, we're traveling up to Massachusetts. So it's really just exciting. But again, if anybody's interested in more about the business,
New Jersey schools too.
Yeah,
so
that's all on the website at BENERGY1.com.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, I want to thank Ben for reaching out to me, and I just loved. When could I come on your podcast? I just love that, and I thought I gotta look this guy up. And I'm so glad that you reached out to me, and I have to watch that Ellen DeGeneres video clip because The Price is Right. The Price is Right. I'm telling you, folks, if it doesn't touch your heart, you don't have one. I'll tell you that right now. I was so excited, along with Ben, watching that clip. So happy that one. Oh, you are welcome. I just want to thank you, Sandy and Ben Hartranft, for coming on, for sharing your information, for being awesome people. You're kicking it, and Ben, I can't help but say you are an amazing inspiration, a young, wonderful young man, and you have a whole future ahead, and I know we're going to be hearing a lot about you in the future.
I'm so excited.
I could definitely see that happening, and maybe one day, Ben, you'll write your own book.
Well, maybe one day, you know what my dream is? I want to do a commencement speech at a graduation.
Never know.
You never know, right? You just really never know what could happen in the future. I'll tell you what, I never thought I would be interviewing people. That's for sure. That came out of my advocacy, actually, raising awareness for Alzheimer's. So, like Matt's journey, first Joshua's journey and being a mom with own special needs taught me to be an advocate. And then, going through Matt's journey really strengthened me and really changed my life for the better. That's for sure. But I want to thank you, Sandy and Ben, for coming on. And, folks, all the information about Sandy and Ben Hartranft will be in the blog. So please read the blog that Jeannie White, who's station manager, writes. And Jeannie produces the show. So thank you, Jeannie White, for all you do. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening and sharing the show. And please share the show to help other people. Maybe you know someone who has autism. And you really need to introduce them to Sandy and Ben, and go on their website, get involved, and learning about what you can do to get involved and help someone. And if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, I recommend that you do, because I have phenomenal guests on. I have to toot my own horn, I will. And I am on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, and YouTube. And you can follow me on my Facebook page, Betsy, Betsy, E. Wurzel, Wurzel, see what I'm about. And if you are a caregiver and you're looking for a support group, I have hashtag Kick Alzheimer's F Movement on Facebook. People from all walks of life are welcome, even if your loved one does not have Alzheimer's. All dementias are welcome. And, if you're not already a caregiver, you will be. And get educated now. Alzheimer's is the number 6 killer. And it is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. So in June, and I just have to say that public service announcement. And folks, as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright. Because if we all did that, it would be a much brighter kind of world. And we need that now more than I think any other time. So please be kind, shine your light bright. Don't be afraid to shine your light. Be who you are. And that's what I have to say today. Thank you for listening. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Bye-bye now.